Hey everyone, it's Michael. I hope you're doing well today, and as many of you know, I'm a horror fan. I made a video recently talking about where are all the horror comics, and a lot of you guys recommended some stuff, and in particular, you recommended the IDW Twilight Zone series, because a lot of you guys know I'm a big Twilight Zone fan, but many of you also recommended the newer Creepshow comics, and I didn't even think about that. Completely forgot this was a thing. I had friends telling me about it like over a year ago. And anyway, here I am to review Volume 1 of Creepshow. And I'm not sure if the title is Creepshow Volume 1 or Creepshow Tales of Suspense and Horror Volume 1. So I'm just going to call it Creepshow Volume 1. This is, surprisingly enough, this is $14.99 per book. And it collects 5 issues, so it ends up being like $3 an issue. But I got this off Amazon, which I don't really like to buy from because they always damage everything they send to me. And I got it for like $11, I want to say. I have a lot of thoughts about this. Nothing too in-depth, nothing too crazy. But I do want to say up front, I'm not the biggest Creepshow guy. I was always more of a Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Dark Side, even though that's a fucking mess. I rewatched that. It's not very good. And Twilight Zone person. I really love anthology horror. And the issues collected here, that's what it is. But unlike the Twilight Zone current IDW series, each issue has 2 stories from 2 different groups of creators, and I'm not a fan of that, to be honest. I feel like that's even worse than what Twilight Zone's doing, where you have one issue to tell a story that could clearly be 2 or 3 parts, 2 or 3 issues long. But I was hoping that this would be a better book. I had heard it was messy, but I love horror so much, and I'm not the biggest Creepshow guy, so like, I was interested, the art looked amazing, and by the way, I think about 95% of the time I really love the art here. I think it's so well detailed and so nice. There's like 1 issue or 2 issues in here that I'm not crazy about the art, and some of it involves the storytelling not giving the artist the best things to work with. Some of it is just bad art, you know? But I'm not the biggest Creepshow guy. You know, I like the first film. I think the second one might be better. I've only seen it one time, but I'm not really sure. I never saw the third movie, and I like the majority of the Shudder TV series that just got canceled, and I'm sad it's gone, to be honest with you. It was a good little fun comfort show here and there. But yeah, you know, the original movie involved George Romero and Stephen King kind of collabing to make something cool, and I think they did. It still has a name. They have young adult novels and stuff, and like Goosebumps types of books now, which is wild to me. Creepshow has had such a huge revival in recent years, it's wild. But I have a friend, Horror Free For All, here on YouTube that you should check out. He's obsessed with this shit. He was one of the big people who kept telling me, go check this out, even though he said it was kind of messy. And he's right. Getting to the stories now. I won't spoil anything here, but this is not a great book. I had a good time, you know, but I couldn't tell you that I could recommend this to everybody. It's a very, very, very mixed bag, like any kind of short story collection is. That goes for novels, that goes for comics. Comics especially, this is a giant mess. Probably the best story in here is the very first one, and if I remember correctly, I think Paul Dini wrote it, you know, one of the biggest DC writers out there for Superman and Batman on the animated series of those, the comics of those. Paul Dini does the first story in here that's like the first half of an issue, and it's a Halloween it's a Halloween issue involving 3 kids that are kind of awful. One's a mummy, he's probably the youngest in the group. There's one dressed as a hot dog and one dressed as Marty McFly from Back to the Future. And they go to a house on Halloween night, and this is beautifully drawn, by the way. And there's a candy bowl out saying, take 1 full-size candy bar, and they take multiples. And I'm so sick of this story being told over and over again. And every Halloween short story collection I read, every Halloween movie I watch, you know, we just had VHS Halloween last year, the newest VHS movie. And it was awful, but that particular story was in that, and it was worse than this by far. It was one of the worst ones I've ever seen from VHS, or any anthology series for that matter. But still, we just saw that. This is a storyline that keeps happening too much, and I'm tired of it. We need to stop doing the fucking candy bar thing. Anyway, so that story, these are too short. There's not enough time here to tell the story that each of these creators want to. But that was a good one. I just wish it had more time to breathe, you know? And then you have some other stuff in here, like a birthday party with a creature that's fucking terrible. It's named Shingo. It eats people, and I don't even want to talk about it. As a matter of fact, the worst thing about it is that is the other half of issue 1. Yeah. I don't think I know any other creators from this book. The name Steve Orlando sounds kind of familiar, but the rest of these people, I have no clue who they are. A lot of the artists deserve a lot more appreciation because of how good they did their work here. There's another story for issue 2 involving a girl who was scared of a tree in her backyard. That could have been better, you know? That felt like kind of classic Creepshow, but by the end of it, it was a terrible ending. Was not a fan of that. There's a story in here involving a guy that's an old comic creator, and like now it's getting the appreciation it deserves, and not just from kids, and he's bitter about that, but he's also in hospice. That story was fucking terrible. I hated it. There's a story in here, I believe it's called Hair, involving people going missing in a small town, a lot of hunters out in the woods and stuff, and every body they find has a missing head. This is a great example of one that I wish had a full issue or multiple issues because I think they did a great job with this. It's beautifully drawn. The kind of creature featureness to it was great. I loved it. I thought it was really good. It's probably my second favorite story in here, to be honest with you. There's a story in here about a group of young people, and one of them being a typical influencer type who takes pictures of her life every 2 seconds. And they go out as a group to like this like ancient ruins place. It's bad. It's bad. There's a vampire story in here. It felt very classic Creepshow. I don't know if I loved it or even liked it, but it felt very classic Creepshow. So a lot of you Creepshow fans out there might really enjoy this book and this series. I'd recommend it to you especially. If you're a horror fan, you're going to love the art here. There's so many beautifully drawn stories, like I said, but that vampire issue was not what I was hoping it would be by the end. Then there's like a luchador story, like a wrestling thing, and it feels like it rips off Goosebumps The Haunted Mask. Well, specifically one of the Haunted Mask, the 4th of the Goosebumps Haunted Mask books. My favorite of the 4. And it's just, by the end of it, it kind of rips that off a little bit, and kind of literally, and I was not a fan. Not a fan. You could have done something really cool, and it was kind of like a typical cool idea to do a luchador story. It felt very Tales from the Crypt or Tales from the Dark Side type of storytelling, but the story itself is not well told, you know? The final issue has a couple of stories here that I'm not too in love with either. One involving a gay guy who like has a phone demon thing where he can't die, he just keeps living on and looking young, and it's kind of like Green Lantern, like he has to do something to revitalize this relationship with this demon thing or he'll begin to rot, essentially. But not in a cool way. It's terrible. It involves like all this gay nightclub shit, and it's not good. It's terrible. The whole story is terrible. And then the final story in here is involving a girl pressured by her parents to be better and more elegant and more very British, you could say, and it ends horribly. Like, I get the message it's trying to pull off, but it's too generic. The art's good, but it's too generic, and that's what a lot of this book is. It's either bad or generic, and you have like 2 good stories in here, which would make up like a grand total of 20 pages of this like 30 page book, 120 page book. I would say if I was not a horror fan, but if I was trying this out, I would probably drop it entirely after this book. But I liked enough in here and loved the art so much most of the time that I think I'm going to keep going. I think I'll keep reviewing because I want more horror comics, and they're so hard to come by nowadays in new releases. You can get old stuff for miles, but newer stuff, it's not really there. So I want to support it, but not if it's mediocre, you know? And I think they might have even stopped this series after like volume 4 or 5 or whatever. I'm not really sure. But I want to read more of them. I think it's a really comfortably made book, by the way, in case you go check these out. It's very... I like the way this softcover feels. I don't know how to explain it, but if you've read the book, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's very cozy. By the way, this is put out by Image Comics, and I don't think I've read anything from Image. Is that Walking Dead? I read like the first 7 volumes of the big hardcover... I guess you could call them a trade. I don't know what to call them. There's like 3 trades in one. Is that an omnibus? Does that count? I don't think it does, but they're huge and they're heavy and they're bulky, and stopped buying them a long time ago. But I think Image put out Walking Dead. Anyway, this is like the only other Image thing I've ever read, as far as I remember. And again, it has its moments. A beautiful cover, as you can see here, a beautiful color scheme with the red and white throughout the book. And I like how bloody it was. That felt very Creepshow, but also it was very good that this was not PG-13 horror comics, or like the old stuff I read from the Strange Tales from Atlas Comics before they became Marvel, that I reviewed on other channels back in the day. I like those stories. It just, they felt like they were more scary stories for kids in a good way. They were really, really fun. They were very clever, very well done, but again, not enough time to breathe. This is definitely a hard R-rated storyline, or collection, and I think that's great. I'm glad that these issues are doing that. Creepshow should be for adults. So it benefits from that, in my opinion. It just needs better creatives who actually like horror, and actually like anthology horror on top of that. But they need more room to breathe, is what I'll keep saying. So anyway, have you read Creepshow Volume 1? What do you think about this collection? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Put all your thoughts and comments down below. What was your favorite story? If it's the Halloween one, like I think everybody's going to say, what was your second favorite story? I'd love to hear all that down below, too. Thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all. Catch you later, and goodbye.